My name is Jamin Goecker, and I'm an associate real estate broker in the state of Alaska, and my mission is to help you to build an intentional and significant legacy for yourself and your family by coaching you in real estate. And today we're going to be talking about the best real estate hacks in 2023. This is a very unique market that we find ourselves in. I don't think I can really find an example of something that's happened quite like this in history. Before we get started though, do make sure you give this video a like, subscribe, do all the good stuff, and let's go and jump into our real estate hacks today. The first hack that I would give you is that you have to really understand what's going on with the market, okay? It's not good enough to just see what's available on Zillow or whatever search app that you're looking at and just say, oh yeah, I understand the market. No, you have to understand the seasonality of the specific market that we're in. You need to understand where we are historically for where we're at, and you need to understand why we're at where we're at. Because I'm seeing a lot of people that are just losing their minds that interest rates are up, and yet the overall average sold price for homes continues to rise. And this is just baffling for a lot of people because they don't, to no discredit to them, they're not professionals, they're not in this industry every day, and they don't really understand what's actually driving the market, which simple supply and demand, interest rates went up, and that means that everybody that refinanced their home or bought something a couple of years ago are hanging on to their property, they're not selling now, and that creates a shortage. And yes, you might get some buyers that are no longer looking because interest rates are higher, but it doesn't really matter when the inventory is going down by that much more. So for that reason, yes, we are in fact seeing average sold prices going up, and that's probably not going to be something that's going to go away anytime soon. So just understand the market and really make sure you understand what's actually driving everything instead of listening to a bunch of theories online from people who aren't actually in the industry. The second hack I would give you, and this is actually pretty close with what the first tip was, and that is don't come in and underbid a property on its sold price, okay? Especially if it's brand new. Now, if it has been on for like weeks or months at that point, yeah, I'd say we have a pretty good chance of coming in there and getting a come down on their average sold price. But instead of doing that, what I'd be more interested in doing is coming in and seeing if we can get them to pay full price, but you pay for our closing expenses up to like this amount. So if we can get a sizable portion of your closing expenses paid and just make our offer contingent on the property actually appraising for whatever it is that we're offering, I consider that a pretty good win. So we just kind of sidestep a lot of the competition that's going to be trying to make a drastic cut, and we find the stuff that's actually going to help you, because long term, $50,000 off the mortgage of the home, you're going to be getting a benefit of maybe $15, $20 a month or something like that. Whereas over the course of 30 years, so if you're in there the entire 30 years, you know, you could get some benefit out of it, but most people are not. And so it's better to just take like the $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, $10,000 credit towards your closing expenses that the seller would be willing to pay for you, instead of asking them to come down $50,000 on their asking price, for example. The next hack I'm going to give you is really important. This is probably the thing that's going to make or break you, and that is having a no quit attitude. And this is really important because for a lot of buyers that are trying to get in right now, they're still running into multiple offer situations. We had one just a little bit ago where there were 22 offers on the table, including my buyers. We obviously did not get it. And you can see in that scenario, it's very easy to become frustrated, disenchanted with the entire process and give in to doing what's easy and just saying, well, we're just going to wait until the market comes down, or we're going to wait, until next year or whatever. And the fact of the matter is, really not expecting there to be any, this is probably not going to ease up. Just based off the variables I'm seeing in this market at this time, I'm really not anticipating it to be getting any easier anytime in the near future. And those that have that attitude of, okay, we're going to come back, we're going to make one offer, two offers, three offers, four offers, five offers. We're going to make as many offers as we need to, and we're going to stay on this as long as we need to in order to secure a home. And those that have that attitude and position themselves to where they can do that, those are the people that are ultimately going to win. Because what happens is a lot of buyers become frustrated. They walk out, they say, we're done. We just got beat out, for the third time, and we're out, no more. and they're going to quit looking, and that leaves that many more opportunities open for the buyers who are really just sticking with it, and they've just accepted, hey, this is more of a lifestyle for us for a little while. We look at houses and we make offers. That's just what we do in our free time. And those that have more of that mentality, yes, they're going to ultimately be the ones who succeed, because a lot of buyers are going to give up. And this is the time where we press even harder, because we know our chances of success actually just went up. I'll also add on that train of thought, it's the buyers who become very emotionally attached to every house that we're looking at that end up quitting sooner. So if you're going in, we know it's a competitive market. I know there's some beautiful homes, and it's very easy to go in and imagine how it's going to fit, your family, or it's going to fit your lifestyle really well, and it's very easy to become emotionally attached. Really try to resist that, though. And the reason is the people who get attached to every home they're making an offer on, overly attached, it becomes very, very easy to just quit. So for that reason, I kind of counsel a lot of my buyers, let's be very callous when we're looking at this house. And if we get it, great, then you can become very attached. Until then, we're just looking at the bare basics and making sure it fits your needs. We're going back to the basics on this one, but make sure you are pre-qualified, ready to go before you start seriously looking at homes online. And I say even online because there's a lot of people who can become very attached to things that they see online. Then they see what fits their budget, and they're like, they kind of just fizzle out. Whereas had they just looked at the properties that were in their budget from the very beginning, that really wouldn't be factoring in as much. Now, we want to make sure that we have this stuff figured out on the numbers, because it's a terrible position to be in where we see a property and it checks all the boxes, but you don't quite qualify, and we don't know that until you go and do all the actual work that goes into making the pre-qualification. So yes, make sure that you're actually getting all the paperwork and all that done ahead of time, because once you see the property and it's ideal, and that is the worst possible time to be trying to sit back and figure out how to get yourself actually pre-qualified at that point. Now, before we go too much further, let's go and take a break real quick. For those who've been watching for a bit, you do know that I host a podcast called the Alaskan Journey Podcast, where I interview people who've recently moved up to Alaska, or people who just have information that's really relevant to those of you who are considering making the move. And if that's something that would benefit you, go check that out in the description section down below. And I also do have a relocation guide for those of you considering moving here as well. If that would benefit you, go register on my website and just make sure you put relocation guide in the description section so I know what to send you. This next tip really is a pet peeve of mine, and that is make sure you go and you check out the area of where you want to find yourself living in, okay? Before we even start looking at individual houses, you have to know, what area am I going to be buying into? And this is so important because I've had a number of times, even recently, where see a property, it's really nice, we go look at it, and it's like, this is not a good area. I don't want, the buyer says, I don't like this area. Okay, let's completely pass on the house. Great house, don't like the area. Well, let's try to save yourself some time by approaching it that we're going to buy into the area before you buy into this specific house, okay? So make sure that you drive it, and optimally you get the chance to actually spend a couple days in some kind of an Airbnb in that area as well, just so you have a sense for what it's actually like on the ground in that area. Now, this next tip, I don't really need to cover as much because I feel like most people are on top of it these days, but make sure you are using some kind of a search app. If you are trying to still use the email search from the MLS where it gets sent over to you every day or so and you just go through the emails and see what's available, you are going to be miserably behind everybody else. And the reason for that is everyone else has got search apps, whether that be Zillow or, my app, where you can go search in there and it's all the same information, but the difference is you can actually set it up so the notifications will send to you, like ding your phone, give you a badge or whatever, just saying, hey, property that just fits your description, just hit the market. Like just instantly, it's going to show you that. And if everyone else has that and you don't, you can see how you're going to be at a big disadvantage. So make sure, if you're not already, you have some kind of a search app all ready to go. Like I said, I do have one, and the benefit of using mine is you're not going to be bombarded with a ton of ads, and I'm not going to go sell your information to a bunch of other people the way Zillow and other search apps do. A lot of buyers go in there and they look at homes, and really what they're looking for is something that just cosmetically just checks all the boxes, and it's exactly what they're looking for, and it's turnkey and it's ready to move in now. Well, the problem is everyone else is looking for that exact same house. For that reason, if we are finding ourselves losing out on multiple offers, what I usually recommend, hey, let's look at homes that aren't quite move-in ready. Okay, now we're not necessarily looking for some kind of a foreclosed property or something that's going to need to be flipped. I'm not looking for a complete reno or anything like that. What I am looking for, though, is a property where the paint's not very good, carpet's going to need to be replaced, and they just have some basic cosmetic stuff in there that's a big turnoff for the average buyer. And so they probably has traction and fewer buyers that are coming in and wanting to make an offer on it. That is perfect, because that means that our opportunity to come in there and get under contract and then pay for some of our closing expenses just went up. Okay, so I want to go find those properties that are in those conditions, preferably a property where a tenant last lived in there and they didn't really care that much about it, and the landlord hasn't cared about that property for years. At which point, you can imagine cosmetically it doesn't look very good. It's still going to be best case scenario and it's pretty good working order. Like, that's really what we're looking for. So that's probably going to be one of the biggest opportunities in this entire market, is finding those properties where cosmetically it doesn't look the best, but with a little bit of work and a little bit of investment, you can get that thing right up to like that turnkey quality that you're looking for. But it does require you to be able to see past the right now and see what it's going to look like in the future. Last but not least, if we are going to be looking at a bunch of properties on the market and we're seriously contenders for getting out there and getting you under contract, I want to make sure I have taken the chance to actually review the purchase and sale agreement that we're going to be using with you right then and there, because it's a solid 13, 14 pages long, and I want the opportunity to actually walk you through everything and answer your questions up front. So as soon as we do see the property that you're looking for, we're not going to have to spend that additional 30, 40 minutes explaining all of this and answering questions. No, as soon as we see that property, you've already seen this document before, and it's just fine-tuning a few things, and then we are ready to go. So it's just that much more preparedness and making sure that you're not stressed looking at all of the details here that we should have already had hammered out. So this has been my list of the top hacks that we're seeing in Alaska in real estate right now. I sure hope it's been useful for you. If it has, as always, give this video a like, but also feel free to reach out to me and let me know if you have any questions. If you're looking at relocating up here in the near future, I'd love to help. But other than that, hope you're doing well. We'll talk with you later.